everyone, we're going to do a tutorial of cool colors versus warm colors. I'm going to use some of the colors I have on hand. This is a really useful video for artists who would like to review color mixing, especially if when you mix colors they don't come out the way you expect them to. I'm going to be using oil paints, but this color theory actually can extend into acrylics, watercolors, other mediums. This is kind of a limited palette in the sense that I'm only going to mix my warms with my warms and my cools with my cools. And the fun part is I'm going to put this palette to the test and do a self-portrait. And the twist on this project is that I actually tried to do this portrait back in college, like 7 years ago. Not only am I going to put this palette to the test, but I'm also going to challenge myself and see how much improvement I've made over the years. Enough about that, let's get started. If you are an absolute beginner to color theory, I recommend that you look up these color terms and familiarize yourself with them, understand them before you start this video, because you need to know at least what primary, secondary, and complementary are. I use those words a lot. If you have a color computer, if you have a color wheel, you could probably use it for this tutorial. This one that I have is really retro and cute. Okay, let's start. So on hand I have 3 warm primaries and 3 cool primaries. I have Cadmium Yellow Deep, Cadmium Red Medium, Cobalt Blue. I actually would probably recommend Cadmium Yellow Medium instead of Deep, but it's just what I have, so that's why I'm using it. So I'm just going to set up my colors in a circle. My primary blue, which is Cobalt Blue, my primary red, which is Cadmium Red Medium, and my Cadmium Yellow Deep. These warm colors are pretty common. You can find them in art stores by these names. There's other warm colors out there that you could pick from, and I'll leave a list of ones that I know about in the description below. When I say the word tint, I'm talking about mixing white, and when I say shade, it means I'm adding a little black, but you won't see me adding a lot of black. I really honestly don't use black very much because you can get very nice dark colors using complementary colors with each other. So if I were to mix an orange with a blue, I would get a really nice dark brown that would be pretty close, depending on the paint, pretty close to black. But black is really useful if your colors aren't giving you those results. Okay, so I'm going to put the tint of each color on the right so that later when I do my cool colors we can compare them. And now I'm going to mix the secondary colors together. So red and yellow, red and blue, blue and yellow. So there's some speculation about what makes a color warm versus cool, but I'm going to simplify it for today, and we're just going to learn it the color wheel way. So for example, let's take a look at blue. Blue is usually called warm if it's leaning towards purple. So my Cobalt Blue has a little sneaky bit of purple in it that makes it a warm blue. And then my Cadmium Red Medium is kind of leaning towards orange, which means that there's a little bit of yellow sneaking in there. And who knows that purple and yellow are opposites, and that the resulting purple is actually going to be a little bit brownish. So if I want a really vibrant purple with high chroma, I have to make sure the red and blue that I'm mixing don't have hidden complementary colors in their pigment. So now I'm going to mix together my Cobalt Blue with my Cadmium Yellow Deep, and that little bit of purple hiding in that cobalt is going to make my green really low chroma. It's not going to be super green looking, but this green I will use a lot. There's a lot of advantages to using low chroma colors throughout your whole painting and then putting in high chroma highlights that will stand out all the more and create a lot of dynamic to your paintings. Before we move on to cool colors, just take a look at these warm colors we just created. It might be very different secondary colors than you're used to when you think of green, orange, and purple. These are probably not the green, orange, and purple you were thinking of. However, these are colors that are going to be very useful in skin tones, landscapes, I don't know, you name it. Alrighty, so let's mix some cool primaries together. Some people are probably wondering why I'm going to use Ultramarine Blue as my cool blue, and that is a personal choice. It's very hard to tell whether Ultramarine Blue is a cool blue or a warm blue. There's like one group of people that see one thing and the next group sees a completely different color, and I happen to be in one of those groups that sees Ultramarine Blue as a cool blue. Okay, so my other colors are Cadmium Yellow Lemon and Alizarin Crimson. It's permanent Alizarin Crimson. There's a lot of cool colors out there for your primaries, and I'm not going to say that you need these three because they're very expensive. So I recommend check the description below, see if there's alternative colors in there that might be cheaper on the market. They're going to give you completely different results, but it's an adventure. Alright, so I'm going to mix some tints of the primary cool colors, just like I did with the warms, on the side, and we'll get to compare them. So I won't get heavily into the speculation right now about blues. I'll just have a video for you to see in depth what I'm talking about, the different way to see cool blues and warm blues. But right now, Cobalt Blue is on the left, Ultramarine Blue is on the right. So Ultramarine Blue actually leans closer to purple than Cobalt does, and you can kind of see that. If you're keen with color, you can see that. For now, let's just mix this blue together with my cool colors and see what happens. Real quick, here are the tints right next to each other. You can tell definitely that that's a cool red and that's a cool yellow, but again, we'll talk about those blues later. Alright, so I'm going to mix together my permanent Alizarin Crimson with my Ultramarine Blue, but it is very, very dark, so I'm going to add a tint so that you can kind of see the chroma of this purple. So I'm mixing together the Alizarin Crimson and my lemon yellow. This cadmium yellow lemon is like the purest yellow. It's not really cool or warm. It's like almost so pure that it's right in the middle. But it is recognized as a cool color. Permanent Alizarin Crimson is more of a magenta, or it's starting to lean more towards purple. So when it mixes with this lemon yellow, I think that little bit of purple is going to make this orange less chromatic, more cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to combine my Ultramarine Blue and my lemon yellow to make a green. There is definitely little bits of purple in that Ultramarine Blue that is going to damper the green, but this is a very natural lime green that I'm used to. But if you're going for a more neon chroma green, you would probably want to use a blue that's leaning towards green, such as manganese blue, phthalo turquoise, cobalt turquoise, and teal. Or check out on Gamblin's website, they have a list of their paints and whether they're warm or cool, and you can use that as a reference. One thing I highly recommend, especially if you're a new artist or you just bought new paints you've never experimented with, is to just mix colors. Grab a template off of Google or find a tutorial where you can create your own color chart with your own colors. Besides understanding whether your color is warm or cool, your colors can even vary in translucence, in how concentrated or permanent they are. So there's still a lot to learn about colors if you haven't learned those traits yet. And I think that doing a color chart will help you understand the colors you have right now. If you found this video helpful, there's a lot of videos coming up on my Patreon page. You can expect more tutorials, more tips and tricks and discoveries. You'll be able to watch that in-depth process of my self-portrait on there. There's a lot of ways to benefit from my Patreon page, so check it out, see if anything matches your needs, and keep in mind that any support that you provide through Patreon really benefits this channel. So give a like for the video, please subscribe if you want to watch more. There's definitely more coming, and we'll keep the conversation going. So thank you for being here today, and I'll see you next time.